much. You might know Ken Bro Hamilton. We have Lycos. We have Gabe Golfer. And here we have Amadeus, who's here rolling the dice and getting ready to square up against Shane, who's a lean, mean bounty machine. And it looks like it is a tale of two Amethysts with Sapphire on Shane's side and Amadeus on Steel.
Yep. I mean, this is a pairing that we know we've seen like a bajillion times this meta so far. Blurple being, I think, the favorite deck in the meta, clearly showing up as the biggest meta share in most tournaments. But closely behind it is Amethyst Steel, and actually, you know, Blurple is all the rage. But Amethyst Steel has actually taken some big events recently. Of course, seeing Tiago take CCS as well as SSG with his build. So even though Blurple gets a lot of the attention right now because a lot of people are playing it, it's a very good deck. Amethyst Steel is represented very well so far. One of the cards, just a fun note, talking to Tiago yesterday, I asked him, like, hey, what are the cards in Amethyst Steel that people underrate? Like the card, why are you so good with this deck? What is the card that like people don't realize makes such a big difference, but it makes such a big difference? And you're seeing one of them there in Amadeus's hand, and it's the Genie, the 3/4 Satisfied Dragon. That 3/4 evasive stat line Tiago says is one of the cards that really, really makes a difference in this matchup. Very powerful stat line for 3 ink. And so wanted to highlight that for anybody following along this color combo. We'll see if it makes a difference here.
Yeah, and I mean, it's interesting because we've seen little flavors pop up. Because, you know, in the first few sets, and we saw people talking about this in the chat, like what makes something someone's deck list. And it's hard because, I mean, there's 5 sets available for legal play right now. So there is going to be some overlap. But you do see different flavors. I mean, when we saw that round 1, I kept being like, oh, is it going to be a Illusions heavy deck? And it was Illusions a little bit, but we never saw Pete. So every player is going to titrate their deck based on their testing, based on what they think is going to be in this room today. And we saw another one of Madam Mim, Tiny Adversary. That's one. And here's Happy, who's here to say, I know this is evasive meta, and I'm ready for it.
Yeah, of course, talk about how awesome that dragon is, and there he goes right in the inkwell right away.
Yeah, you gotta, you know, he's good in 2 ways, as ink
Yeah.
and. But then we have a Rafiki here, was a card that was very popular in set 2, taking care of some Cinderella ballroom sensations. She's not here, but Quest challenging for 3 is still a very valuable thing. And we've seen Rafiki kind of come back from the depths of your bulk bin. And here we go again with another thing that's here to keep Rafiki in line, and that is Calhoun.
Yeah, Calhoun, a real difference maker in this meta for this Steel deck. It shuts down a lot of the aggressive play lines from Amber Steel, and in this matchup, makes sure that Shane isn't free to sneak out some lore early with whatever his early drops are. Shuts down that line. So we do see Shane hit the Azurite Sea on turn 2, hitting that turn 2 ramp right on schedule, and an Into the Unknown, into the Inkwell, followed by a Develop Your Brain.
Yeah, and this is, man, what a power. He's like, here are all my good actions. Would you like to see them?
Yeah.
But yeah, we know that Into the Unknown has been a card that people talked a lot about before it was released as a preview, and then people were like, oh my gosh, this is going to be great. But Blurple didn't have as much play last set, but suddenly in a set where we got rid of a lot of removal, it's definitely seen a little bit more play than I saw last set, and it could be very good in a pinch. Which we might see if it's used here. It won't be used. That one won't be used because in the inkwell. But that is kind of the name of this purple game. Is sometimes you do have to ink some things you might want to use later because you truly need to ramp to do the things that this deck does well, which is the powerful stuff early.
And here's that Satisfied Dragon that we talked about, that 3/4 on turn 3. This character does gain evasive on Amadeus' turn. It's a nice little counter to that 3/3 Dumbo, which people like to roll out, and a lot of the other evasive threats that Blurple runs. So we'll see if it makes a difference here.
Yeah, and it's interesting, right? Because, I mean, a lot of these cards are picking for, like we said, it's picking for the meta. And there he is right now, the one that both this Dragon and Happy are looking for and kind of pacing and foaming at the mouth for. And that is that Dumbo. But here we go. This is one of the last of a dying breed. It's a bounce, one of 2 available. Madam Mim Elephant. How do you feel about seeing this card finally make its way back from set 5 into the meta?
I love elephants. I love when old cards become good again. And here, yeah, Madam Mim keeping the bounce alive. I was going to say, anytime you see that Rafiki quest like that and open itself up for a challenge, you know what's coming.
What are you doing, Rafiki? He's like, nothing.
Nothing. I'm just going to snag a little lore on my way off the board here. Yeah, the elephant coming in. We talked about the powerful stat line of Genie, the 3/4 on turn 3, but here's a 3/7 on turn 4. Just her stats are so good in a meta that relies on damage-based removal, oftentimes, whether it's challenges or the couple remaining cards left, or really the one remaining card left, Strength of Raging Fire over on the Steel side. So it does a lot. It sticks around for a while. And you can even see those damage shifting shenanigans come into play here occasionally. So
yes, especially in a world where people quite like resist. Resist and support are 2 words that we're seeing a lot on these cards. And moving damage says, resist what you must, but you cannot resist me. So that resist would have been quite nice if he had something carrying damage. In this case, they're both playing around each other. They're staying upright and being cautious. So he wasn't able to do that damage move to get rid of that pesky Calhoun. But it is a nice thing to have in your back pocket. We know Bella Accomplished Mystic likes to do that too. Maybe we'll see her this game. But Pete says if you're going to do something, it better be baked into that card because actions are off the block for one turn.
Yeah, and Amadeus here with a bit of an awkward turn. He'd love to hit that Genie here. There's just not a lot available. He does have the strength, which he doesn't want to get rid of. It's an answer to a Genie or a Dumbo if it's played. And the Genie is so critical sometimes on this deck, especially in the mid game here, because it gives you those extra cards, to power you into the late game and just not a lot of draw. So he does have the Elsa for next turn, but hand size is going to become an issue unless he can get into a Genie or a Dock here. Let's see. Oh, we do have the Elsa here. We're going to take care of that dragon in short order. It only has evasive on Amadeus' turn, so vulnerable here to that elephant, and there it goes. And now that elephant's setting up a little damage shift next turn, so Amadeus is going to want to deal with that.
Yeah, and now he's saying, listen, it's going to be hard for you to take care of all this. You do have a 3-3, you have your 3-2, and a 2-1, but it's basically saying, on one hand, you're leaving damage here on the board that I can move around. You've already seen my elephant. I guarantee there's a bell to follow. So it's making, here it says Dolores Madrigal. I had to stop myself because you don't see this all the time.
You do not.
But this is a card that Amadeus has included here. She is a inkable card here, questing for 2, a 3-1, and she is going to give a little bit of synergy here with the other cards. I believe she does a card. Woo, she said, I'm out of here. But she has, when you play this character, if opponent has an exotic character in play, you may draw a card. And once again, it's kind of these, I like Genie. How could I get something like Genie? And in the meta where, people are challenging and questing quite aggressively, it's a good play.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, again, talking about the importance of finding that card draw in the mid game, and even one card makes a difference is one of the reasons Genie is so good. So here, not hitting the Genie, but that Dolores Madrigal giving the same effect, getting a card upon entering play. And she quests for 2. So clearing off Shayner's board here in short order. This is what Amethyst Steel does so well. And yeah, we'll see what Shayner's response is here.
Yeah, and it's interesting to note that, we saw this earlier with Treasure Guardian. We were talking about how, Treasure Guardian by itself, it's not so great, but if you're running illusions, then suddenly, pretty good card. It lets you draw a card if you have an illusion in play. Stay with Dolores. You know that you've looked at the meta. You know what's probably going to be out there, and it's the same thing. A 4-cost, 3-3, quest for 2, and you say, I'm 90% sure this condition's going to be met, and suddenly a card that's maybe marginally good is more guaranteed good.
Shayner thinking about this turn. I keep saying Shayner's.
In your defense, it says Shayner's right there.
Yeah.
So I think it is. I told you yesterday that the team Luxury Gaming will put Lux in front, and I unfortunately call every single person on the team Lux because I just read, and I'm like, and there's Lux, and there's Lux. They can't all be Lux. But yeah, Shane is here thinking because ultimately he knows momentum can be. Ooh. Is that a Disneyland?
That is. It's amazing to see this work its way into
Yeah,
competitive play
so
already.
fast.
This is the promo version you get from doing the collection quest in the park. A beautiful version of this card in play here. No damage to shift around. It's just a 4/4 body on the board that quests for 2, but establishing a little board presence there and looking good doing it.
Yeah, and it's I think that might have been why he was a little bit reluctant to slap that down because he had 2 characters with 3 damage on the board. He was like, I have a plan. And unfortunately, Amadeus said, what plan? He did the Wanda Maximoff thing saying, you don't. But, at the end of the day, he knows momentum is important. He knows he needs to get something on the board because ultimately that's how you're going to win the game is having something to challenge, something to quest. But things are looking quite good for Amadeus. He doesn't have an evasive, which Dumbo quite likes to be paired with. It's one of his favorite things in the world. But the wider he goes, the more problems he's giving Shane to deal with. So he's probably not feeling too bad knowing that Shane is on the back foot a bit here.
Yeah, he likes peanuts, he likes feathers, and he loves evasive characters. Unfortunately, Amadeus won't be able to use them immediately. So setting up that bell, not only does they get a body on the board to shut down some questing, which is crucial in this scenario, but also, one of the ways that Blurple ends up powering its way over other decks is that second star to the right. So I don't know if Shayner has it in hand, but it's one thing he's going to be looking to do in the late game. So establishing, like this, several bodies that can work together to sing is important. There's Hades coming in, card from all the way back in set 1, reprinted here, and that looks like the set 1 version. I can't tell.
Yeah,
anyway,
I can't see the bottom symbol, which makes me think it's shiny, which makes me think it's set 9. Because as you guys might have seen, if you've opened some packs from Fabled, they made the rarity symbols for rares and above a little shiny, which I quite like. But I will note in the chat, we have the winner of the first PPG in Fort Worth. Tyler's just chilling. chilling at home. He's like, yeah, I won one of these, and now I'm just kind of watching from the chat. So shout out to Batsu Tyler, who took down the first PPG in Texas and is now saying, to the victor goes the couch. He was at Inking.
I'm a reigning champion until someone beats me.
Yeah, right? And guess what? You aren't doing it here, but he'll always be a champion. And he was at Ink, I heard. So shout out to Tyler, and thank you for joining us. And I guess you'll see who gets to join you in the club of the PPG champs.
It's a pretty exclusive club.
It is. It's awesome. One. He's in a club by himself, but somebody in this room is joining him today. But we are watching both of these players kind of be, I hear, that's my favorite term, in the tank, because it sounds very cool. But it's a think tank, not a battle tank, but maybe it's both. And they're kind of trying to think very judiciously, because both these players played Amethyst because they want to draw cards. They're not drawing a ton. And that Cobra is kind of an anti-card draw card, because he has the ability to discard a card. He didn't do it yet. Is he thinking, or is he just electing not to? With Bell and it looks like another card in hand, it looks like he's just not going to do it. Electing to go wider in this situation.
Yeah, I think thinking about it a little bit, but the cards here, just such limited card draw so far this game. I think the only extra he's hit is off that Dolores, so definitely valuing those cards. Back over to Shaner's Edict here. He does establish those cards. He can sing second star. Starting to get boards getting a little bigger.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because we've seen so many games where it is like a dance. They go up to 4 characters and the opponent goes up to 4 characters and they quest and they challenge for. And so if the dance stops being in step and they start stepping on each other's toe or they miss a beat, that can be where the game pulls away. And it can be hard to get it back. There are some huge momentum swing cards. Notably of these two decks, Shane does have the more powerful top end, the more answers. He has the Hades, Into the Unknown, sometimes Elsa, Spirit of Winter. There's more punishing things at the top end, but the difference is that Amadeus is going to start drawing dock after dock. It's just what we see all the time. Now, he might not, because obviously you can't control what happens here, but it is something where I fear Shane's deck after this much ink more than I fear Amadeus, but I certainly still fear Amadeus' deck.
Yeah, the answer for Shaner is to go big, and here we see going big. Peak going big with this 8-cost Elsa coming in. It's going to exert 2 characters that won't be able to ready at the start of Amadeus' next turn. Thought about it and ended up going with Calhoun and the Giant Cobra. Susceptible to challenges now. We'll see.
Yeah,
and go that route.
It's rough, right? Because, I mean, this could be a tempo card or it could be something that can be used to challenge into something that they were keeping up, right? In this case, Hades says, listen, I know you have resist, but I can deal some damage. I can put some damage, which we know is not always the worst thing in the world. Still not great if you have these big kind of bigger characters on the board. We have 2 3/3s and a 4/4, so he knows he's taking a risk here. But ultimately, that Cobra is not going to ready. He did, but he didn't mean it. He's back, and now we get to see what else he's going to do, and if he's able to do some magic of his own. And I do see some magic accomplished mystic in his hand.
Yeah, so we can do a little damage shifty shenanigans here, but so definitely some control to be done. We'll see which way Amadeus chooses to shackle it. It's a good card to have here. That Bell drawing into an Obedient Raven, not a great card to draw off the top deck, but it'll replace itself eventually. You just have to set it up. But let's see. Definitely some work to be done here cleaning up the board, and I think we'll see that in short order as Amadeus figures out how exactly he wants to tackle it.
Yeah, and I think it's something to note that this is where the decks, we talk about how, like, oh, all the decks are pretty much the same, but they aren't. It's something where some people are going to do some things like a second star to the right, which we've seen many times in the past 2 weekends, and it's something that refills his hand, because you don't want Shane to draw a single card at all. So any card he gets is another thing where it feels like it's all the answers. But like you mentioned, Diablo, unless Hades or Into the Unknown gets to him first, is probably going to draw a card. So it's not out of answers. You can definitely see that's the face of a man that says, I need to be very careful here, because Shane has all hits, no breaks after this. What can I do to make sure I get the most value of what I have right now?
Yeah, and unfortunately, when you do the math in the Mystic, though, like I talked about, you can do some stuff, but really there's not a lot to be done with it. Is neither Bell or Elsa is susceptible being removed here, so really you can just do a trade there like you've done. Perhaps play the Bell to establish a body, but yeah, unfortunately the damage shifting shenanigans are nice. Not a lot to be done here, though. Amadeus now figuring out which way to go. I do think, if Amadeus is hoping eventually to go wide, I mean, hit that dock, start to string those together, that's really the way he's going to start to overpower this Blurple deck. But right now, just card draw has been so difficult to come by for him. There's a card that'll draw a card. Obedient Raven coming in, replace itself eventually. And Smee, Steadfast Mate, I believe, not the Bumbling Mate we're used to.
We miss him.
Not quite as good, but here he is, nevertheless, for 1 lore and a little bit more board presence.
Yeah, I think that it can be a little bit sad sometimes when you see a card and you're like, I remember there once was a Bumbling Mate. He goes there for 2. I liked him quite a bit. But he's not gone. He's just an infinity guy. It's like, I know sometimes we're like, oh, he's gone. He's not. He's just somewhere else. But right now, it is time for the Mr. Smee meta of Steadfast Mate. You might have blinked and seen, like, was he there? He is. Just infinity. It's coming to a store near you. But today, he's making do with what he has. And unfortunately, what he has is not as scary as what I think Shane could have. I remember we saw his hand briefly, but no matter what it is, it's probably a little scary. We've got the Elsa Fifth Spirit, Elsa Spirit of Winter, Bell Accomplished Mystic, Hades. I can go through all the ones that I don't want to see. Which one is he going to pick? Probably Elsa, I would imagine. Or maybe Bell. Elsa.
Yeah, there it is. Elsa the Fifth Spirit coming down. We're going to exert that Steadfast Mate. He's not going to be around too long. Cobra being challenged by Elsa here. Shaner just clearing up the board. Elsa going to come in over here, take care of that Steadfast Mate.
Yeah, just doing some cleanup and saying, I can quest for 2 with this Bell. I can do some quick work of your other stuff that Elsa Fifth Spirit has evasive, and then put down a little Basil, who we saw do an incredible amount of work over the past few days of gaming, and he's got support. So do you still, after last week, and you said he's one of the most valuable cards in this deck, do you still stand by that after a day of gameplay?
In the mirror, I think he is very, very valuable when you play him on curve. I mean, he's essentially, you can think of him as an item. He's a little tool that you put on the board, and you can choose to apply him at the perfect time to make a very favorable trade. And in a meta where, especially in the mirror, where challenging, back and forth is really your premier removal. It's the way you're doing most of your removal. With the exception of just a few cards, I think it can make a huge difference. Now we'll see what he does here, playing him on turn like Bajillion instead of playing him on turn 1. But it's a fun card in the mirror or in a matchup where these board states do go big and you're looking for those favorable trades.
Yeah, so I mean, at this point, it's getting to the point where we look at the clock. We know these are 50-minute rounds.
Oh, he's not going to be around long here.
Yeah, okay, well, he's got to go.
Which way are we going? Oh, we're going to shift 7 over.
Slow down the clock a little bit.
Remove that Elsa.
Yeah, because, I mean, in this case, Elsa does quest for 3. Amadeus is kind of doing that math on his head. He's got 33 minutes left. He could have up to 2 games left. Now, tying this early in the day is not the worst thing in the world, but he knows that he's got a couple turns to try to see if he can turn this around. He's going to go ahead and quest here with that Diablo. And I'm wondering if he's going to go ahead and throw this Dolores at anything. But he's trying to stay in this game, and I think we're going to see either this game wrap up after a couple turns, or he'll go ahead and send it to game 2.
Yeah, and it just feels like we're waiting for that big moment here. Both players going back and forth, finding little answers, little bits of removal. Definitely feel like Shaner has the upper hand, but it does feel like a second star to the right or top decking a dock is going to break this open a little bit. Right now, just a little bit of not quite a stalemate back and forth, but just a little bit of punch and counter punch.
Exactly.
Shaner managing to sneak out, an extra couple lore every turn though. And there's another Elsa. I talked about things that'll break it open. That's another one. The second Spirit of Winter we've seen coming down, going to exert those 2 characters. And here's that Basil coming into play again. He's questing right now, giving support to that Elsa. She now has 4 strength and is going to challenge into that lore. See, this is exactly what I'm talking about in this kind of board state matchup. It allows you to make really good trades. And if he sticks around, we're going to get to see him do it again. Man, Fifth Spirit coming in clutch here.
Yeah, and it's for me, I think, for people who've been playing since set 1, and maybe people who haven't been playing set 1, how fun is it to see the set 1 legendaries have such a good time between Sean Silver, Elsa, Hades? I'm like, the gang's back together. And it's so interesting to see they were reprinted because it kind of shows that they knew those cards would be powerful. They didn't see play a ton. Oh, what's that?
Look at this. Look at this.
Where are you?
All right, so we have the Happy come down. Seven Dwarves Mine, very, very popular in like Diggy Diggy Hole back in the day. We see it in some different decks. Not in a lot of Amethyst Steel decks. In some, not a lot. But being used here to move that Happy over, of course, when it sees Knights, I believe, it does 2 damage when you slide it over. So used to clear up the board a little bit there. He might get a little bit of lore out of it to boot. But what a fun card to see in this deck.
Yeah, now is it something that's going to swing this game around? With all these top-heavy absolute beatdowns, it will be tough. A mine is not going to win you the game by itself. So we are at the point where Shane has a total of 8 on board. So I'm thinking Amadeus is going to get to the point where he's like, we got to get to game 2. And he looks like he's going to do one more turn here. But Shane is feeling pretty nice with a very wide, healthy, robust board.
Yeah, just having, all the cards he wants to control the board here, get those bells down, the Elsas, the fifth. I mean, just had everything you needed. And yeah, we're
the newest, latest, greatest bells too. That always has to feel bad, right? And I guess if you're a bounty player, you're like, listen, I got to get the good cards for this. But still very impressive how Lorcana players, they can be like, this came out. Like, I'm so surprised we're not seeing the China promos that were released yesterday in the DLC in China.
Right.
People aren't like, I got them. And like, did you overnight this DHL? Like, how did you do this? Because these
Yes.
players get cards so fast. I'm always impressed and a little scared.
Yes, yes, I did. Those bells, really, really beautiful. Yeah, and that's so. In this matchup, you know, Amethyst Steel has a very good chance into Blurple and can do work. We see Tiago like farm Blurple decks in other events, but the problem is in the late game, just the haymakers that Blurple can throw at you from, you know, the Fifth Spirit to Hades and a lot of the swingy cards. Like it's really good. I think the other problem for Amadeus is if I'm trying to think of the extra card draw that he found in the mid game, I don't think we ever saw a Doc. We didn't see a Genie. We did see that one Dolores. But in terms of getting extra cards, I think that Diablo like was the only other card that he got. So just not a lot of gas. And one of the ways that Amethyst Steel is going to beat Blurple is by going wide, because there's just not a lot of wide removal available. So not able to do that because it just didn't have the gas.
And it's so funny because you'll hear us when we cast. You'll hear it probably sometime today. They always have the dock. They don't. Amadeus is going to say, do they always have the dock? Because I didn't, and I would like to have had the dock. And we also saw the problem. Blurple is truly a control deck. I mean, we used to see Ruby be the control de facto, but right now, the deck that Shane is running is one of the biggest, strongest control decks in the format, because it truly says, whatever you plan to do, I'm going to try to stop it. And with Sapphire, it says I'm going to stop it a little sooner. With Amethyst, it says I'm going to stop it, and I'm going to be drawing cards. So it's why it's one of the most big bads of the meta, because we saw it. Once you get to a certain amount of ink, and as long as they have cards in their hand, they can do some extremely powerful things that other decks just have a really hard time keeping up with at that phase in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to game 2 here. Amadeus will be on the play. I mean, you always want to be on the play, but particularly in this matchup, Amethyst Steel is a lot better on the play. What?
Yeah.
Look, it's early. Of course, it's a better.
I want to be
Everything's
on
better
the
on the
play.
play. There we go.
Listen,
All right,
it's
we'll
better on
skip
the
that
play,
comment. There, it's
except
better
for
on
someone
the
in the chat.
play. Amadeus
I
happy
prefer to be on the draw. There's
Yeah.
always one person that's like, well, I like the draw, and good for you. Honestly, we need people like you out there because we need somebody that's happy, and not just the dwarf.
Yeah.
But here we go. It looks like we got Captain Hook. You know him from Set 1. He was one of the D23 promos that came out before the game even launched, but he got a makeover in Renee Jafar, and it's something we're going to see more of, where Disney Lorcana said we're going to have same card, new art, which I personally think is great. You probably love because you know a few artists out there. But Shane says, I don't have anything for turn 1. We have no Basils. We have nothing. Let's go to the 2, and let's hope he has ramp.
Yeah, Calhoun here on turn 2. It's right where he wants to be. Back over to Shane. We'll see if we have that turn 2 ramp.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because sometimes if we're in a mirror of Sapphire, you might not even hear us say much until turn 3 because these first few turns are so textbook. But inking a Dumbo, a foil Dumbo at that, is a little like, okay, what do we got? And we got ramp. So whew, we're saved, everyone.
It is funny. I've heard Blurple players describe it as, you know, the game starts, or my game starts on turn 3 once you hit that ramp and you hit turn 4, start to play the genies, etc. So yeah, it does feel a little slow usually right off the bat. We do hit the ramp, though, which is good for Shaner. Back over to Amadeus. Let's see if he can start going wide. I do see, is that a dock in hand there? Yes, it is. So that'll be good news for him in the mid-game. You don't necessarily like to have it early because the danger of drawing into another one is so big. But we also have the Genie, so he does have that mid-game card draw that he's looking for. I'm trying to look at Inkables, though.
Yeah. Dolores hitting the inkwell there. We saw her do a little bit of card draw game 1. And there is your favorite friend. It's GD, not the 4 cost, the 3 cost, who has that ability Bug Catcher, which not relevant quite yet, but might come in handy later. And here we have Captain Doug being like, can I quest? And the answer is sure. You can get 1 lore, but they are electing to keep that Calhoun upright, probably because Hypnotic Strings could be in there. That Calhoun is better waiting. 1 lore better than 2 lore and surviving. So we're going to keep Calhoun active. But are you seeing anything interesting going on there?
Well, one thing I was going to point out again is I talk about the power of Basil in this deck. It's especially powerful compared with Tipo. And now, of course, we're going to see it bounce to the elephant to use for a different purpose there. But the fact that Basil wasn't played turn 1 allowed Amadeus to get an extra lure off that hook, where he would that line wouldn't have been available if Tipo's on, or if the Basil's on board. So it would have been available. You invite the crack back for the Calhoun, et cetera. But
available in a scary way.
So there you go.
Yeah.
So Elephant coming down here, 3-7. A little bit of bounce remaining, as you pointed out, and back over to Amadeus.
A little bit of the elephant in the room. And speaking of elephant in the room, that is the most expensive elephant in the room. I want this card, so I don't want it. I don't have any. I haven't played Dumbo yet. I'm trying not to because some people will say, "Oh, look at you!" But man, look at that card. It is one of the prettiest enchanteds they've made yet.
Yeah, one of the most beautiful cards.
It is. It's so frustrating when it's so terrible when the stars align and it's a pretty enchanted that is meta relevant. You're like, oh no, I'm never gonna be able to get that for $100. So, but now we have a beautiful board stand on Amadeus' side. He's probably feeling a lot better, but still knows that Shane is not out, and here's a reason why: because he has a lot of interaction coming up.
Yeah, here we hit this mid game here where all the bells, the Elsas, all that's available. So we're going to start to see these board states swinging back and forth here. Amadeus has the genie in hand though, electing to play the Dumbo instead. Speaking of elephants, Shane are sending the Madam Mim off on a quest there, so we're even at 2. And this is where these games really get going here, turn 4 and 5, and we draw into a strength.
Yeah, a couple fun lines here because that genie, the Satisfied Dragon, is evasive right now, which means it can be exerted to draw a card and gain a little lore. I always forget about the gain a little lore because it's not the #1 reason you play it, but it's nice. Anytime you can gain a lore. And then here is that genie coming in drawing a card.
Strength, though.
Oh, because, yeah, now we can sing a beautiful song for 4 damage, and it is Strength of a Raging Fire. And here it is.
With all the force of a great typhoon. Calhoun cleaning it up there. Fun little interaction there. Calhoun's going to get 2 lore, finishing that character off in a challenge. So up to 4 for Amadeus. And Satisfied Dragon there, not doing a challenge, just doing a little singing.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the more fun things. One of my favorite singers in the whole game is Pete because, you know, he has one less song to sing. He used to sing Strength and famously Strength and Let the Storm Rage On. But now he can sing. You don't think about that. He's known for making you stop actions. But I quite love when you remember that 3-cost singers can sing, or 3-cost characters can sing 3-cost songs. But yeah, the board is looking quite nice. Amadeus knows if that Dumbo can stay around, Genie can do some things. 2 Genies, either one could do some card draw. So definitely a lot less scary of a predicament. And then I'm thinking that's still that Doc and a Bell Accomplished Mystic. So lots of options for him.
Oh,
a little less
shift
now.
also. Oh my goodness. And it was one of those scenarios too, setting that Dumbo up, you just hope it survives to next turn because it can do a lot of work. And yeah, that Elsa coming down, shutting that down, shifting on top of the Swift Spirit. It's always, you know, having a card like a really, really good Floodborn that does great stuff is good. When it has a really powerful shift target that you're going to run anyway, it's even better. And coming down here in turn 6, shutting down that Dumbo and just really stalling out Amadeus' board. What a powerful play. Back over to Amadeus, though. We'll see what his response is, but it just feels like a momentum killer right there.
Yeah, we see Peter Pan Shadow on the board. I mean, a lot of these things is like making play lines where you have to think about them all at the same time. Because a lot of times when you play a card, you're playing around something. It's hard to play around everything because statistically they're not going to have everything. But it does feel like your opponent does have everything. In this case, he tried to play around some inevitability, but that shift Elsa can be hard because you don't always do that. In fact, most Blurple players are not going to shift Elsa on Elsa because it's nice to have 2 Elsas. But in this case, he did because it was beneficial, and we see why.
Now, Bell Accomplished Mystic coming down, establishing that 4/4. No damage really to shift around. I guess you could move it on to Elsa. I don't know. But getting that board down, I think the last card in hand is that Doc, so looking to set up a really good trade here. Oh, and here comes that Bell Accomplished Mystic. We see it on the other side. He says, mine's prettier. It also has more to do because I've got damage counter to shift over. Remove that Dumbo, and now Elsa questing for 3. Really impactful couple turns there for Shayna's Edict. The Elsa followed by the Bell. Now let's see. We're going to get to see, I think, this Doc in action here, depending on what we draw off the top deck.
Yeah, I mean, it's
White
so
Rose.
It's interesting too because Amadeus, he wants to draw cards. He's going to be playing cards because he might drop down this White Rose, play the Doc, get 2 new cards. The problem is it just feels like the ones that Shane has are so much scarier. And I don't know if we saw it last game. We might see it again. But here we go. Let's see if he can stay in this game. He has a solid start, but man, Shane's deck scares me at this point in the game.
Yeah, it's just, again, so much in the top end. I think we drew into a Genie and a Forceful Duelist. So Forceful Duelist, not, it's fine.
It's a character.
Getting another Genie is fine. But, neither one are really going to overpower the board here. So and it's going to go back over to Shane with all of that ink. And we'll see what he can do. Shane, I'm trying to see cards in hand.
Yeah, he says, I keep my cards close to my chest. It's probably because they're all scary. And he knows if you let me see them, I might scream. But yeah, I mean, like you said, that Genie and the Forceful Duelist, those are cards. But it's hard, right? Because no matter what Amadeus draws, I'll always probably think the ones Shane has are scarier. Unless he starts only drawing Basils only from this point forward, Basils and Diablos. Unfortunately, it's just a situation where he's built his deck for this part of the game. And here's one of them. This is right what I was afraid of. And Hades just turns that bell right into ink. And now we just quest for a nice 5 and say, you deal with it. I'm gonna keep moving forward. I hope you can catch up.
Yeah, getting the strongest, the highest strength character off the board there. Opening up to quest, and yeah, I mean, this is gonna be tough road to climb here.
Yeah.
Let's see, looks like we will see that Genie. Get another card off that. 2 ink available plus ink for turn.
So It's interesting, and we have people talking about like these turns and how long should they take. These turns are so pivotal because essentially Amadeus knows there's this clock. It's above his head. There's a real clock that's 20 minutes, but then there's a clock in his head where he knows at this point Shane has a nice, cool uh, 7 on the board, which is a lot. That takes him to 17, and so he's like, okay, well I have to race you. I also have to beat you. I have to get cards. He needs to do things exactly right to make sure he keeps the cards in hand. He gets rid of the threats on board. They're huge. Those are not easy. That's a lot of willpower on the board. So he needs to think about this because it might be the last thing he thinks about in this game if he doesn't do it right.
And I think we're going to see him empty his hand here because that's Forceful Duelist. That is a 6th character, and the last card in hand, I think, is a Strength of Raging Fire. So likely to see that sung. There it is. Going to remove that Elsa there.
Yeah, and he's like, I'll clean up because that's honestly one of the benefits of going wide. You can quest for a lot, you can challenge for a lot, but it's kind of sad because you have to use a lot of bodies. So he's hoping this all pays off. He went wide. That's one of the benefits of an Amethyst steel build is you can go wide. And,
another Hades.
Yeah, and it's not a huge backbreaker because, I mean, Genie's a 2/4. He's already done the cool thing, but it is frustrating because that's one of his questers for 2. It's evasive, and now it's ink, but he has no cards.
Yeah, I think that's a 5th Spirit drawing into. Not a terrible draw, but just so painful getting that other Hades there. I mean, Amadeus needs to go wide, and Shaner just turn after turn. Again, it does doing what Blurple does.
Yes.
Just having that high top end, shutting down all routes back. So not a terrible card to draw here, though. We're going to exit that Hades. Forceful Duelist with Challenger. Genie, Elsa will be able to do a little bit of work.
Yeah, and now it becomes like what we just saw last turn. He threw all the bodies he could to clean up the board, and now he's like, oh my gosh, do I have to do this again? And the answer is yes. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, yes, he's at 12. Soon we'll see a Sunflower Lumineer in the background there of Shane cheering on Landon here on the Sunflower Lumineers. But Landon is saying, I can't look up. I got to figure out what to do here. And he can probably get rid of one. I mean, he can get rid of one in Hades, but then he's still on the ropes here a little bit.
Yeah, so thinking about what to do with this Diablo, I mean, the choice here, you could quest it, get a lore, or if you're looking for more cards, challenge it into the Hades. So it seems to be considering if that's the route here. Now the Elsa will... Okay, we're just lining things up. All right, all 3 into the Hades. Challenger will help finish off Hades. 3 damage across the board. Shane now, again, cards in hand. I see 1 over there, so... dropping, haymakers on the board each turn, and Amadeus managing to keep things a little bit low, just clawing 1-2 characters off the board, keeping Shane from running away with it every single turn. Really, what's going to break this open is, I mean, 1 more haymaker from Shaner, like an Elsa will do it, or some sort of big card draw off the top. Hades here going to quest, go up to 14.
Yeah, just chipping away.
Yep, just every turn, just a couple lore, slow and steady. Nothing. It's another. I didn't see that Hades there. Another Hades.
Another Rafiki. Why
choosing
not?
to banish the Diablo, saying, I don't want to even give you a route back in this game.
Yeah.
That card draw, so threatening. It's like, I don't care about the lore and the Genie. I don't care about the evasive.
No duck.
I'm going to send that card draw off the board, possibly seeing Amadeus thinking about it there. So there's a fun card. They never come back. A card from Pinocchio. I believe that Hades will not be able to ready at the start of next turn.
Yeah, and then
draw a card.
It's not an exert, because you see Pinocchio, you might think Talkative Pup. No, it must already be exerted. In this case, we do have 1, and it has the 3 best cards in Disney Lorcana. Draw a card. But yeah, that has to be brutal, because earlier I said, well, there's a Diablo, which is probably going to draw you a card, and Shane said, probably. Sounds like it won't. So brutal turn there, but we're going to keep chipping along here, moving 1 damage to that Rafiki off of Elsa, moving to the mine. It's the first 1 per turn. You can't stack those damage things. It's once per turn. You get 1 or 2 damage. But yeah, I mean, Shane is saying, well, I still have 3 that I'm questing for next turn. And Amadeus just has to keep spending every turn responding and not necessarily getting further ahead as much as he'd want to.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, you're just really hoping Shaner has a bad draw here, not much to do on the turn. Because you just don't, you have cards that can deal with 1 character, maybe 2, just not a lot you can draw into. They can deal with multiple, and you're just way too far behind. So let's see. I think that last card in hand, unless we inked it, is a Sail. I can't remember if that went into the inkwell yet.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't seem too concerned about interacting over there.
It's an elephant.
Oh, right. So yeah, he can go ahead and get that Rafiki back, who that Rafiki just got a damage, but he can bounce it. But bouncing that Hades has benefits too.
I pull that Hades back, that bit of removal.
Yeah.
Back over to Amadeus, and there's just not a lot. Now, getting that Hades off the board does feel better because now you can prevent game just by removing that one Hades. I missed what the draw was there. Genie also left. Clean up the Rafiki with a move. It's a Dolores. Our card is exerted, so we will draw a card. Not terrible.
Yeah.
But now we're going to have to do some challenging and just not. We're just like one short of dealing with the Hades, though.
Yeah, and it's rough too because even if you deal with the Hades, there's another Hades coming.
Yeah, you need.
It's just a really rough math on his side.
It's just not enough to do with it. You can do one with a shift. You get one short. You're just one short. And that's going to do it. So Shaner, our bounty player here, taking this. Shaner's Edict taking this